It used to feel like a revolution. 5 fabulous experts sweeping into someone's life and changing it forever. But now, it kind of feels like déjà vu. Again, and again, and again. When Queer Eye rebooted on Netflix in 2018, it was an instant hit. It wasn't just a makeover show. It was a warm, emotional, sometimes tear-jerking journey through personal growth, empathy, and self-discovery.
We didn't know, honestly, while we were shooting it, we had no idea that it would be successful, that it would have any kind of cultural impact.
We're lucky enough, having done the original show, we see the original impact.
Each episode left you feeling better about yourself and about the world. The Fab Five weren't just stylists and designers. They were therapists, cheerleaders, and best friends all rolled into one. But fast forward a few years and a few seasons later, and something's changed. Social media has started buzzing with a new kind of message. Why does Queer Eye feel off now? The sparkle is dimmer. The stories feel more forced. And the show that once broke barriers seems to be coasting on its own success. What happened? In this video, we're breaking down exactly why Queer Eye doesn't hit like it used to. From repetitive storylines and shallow solutions to real-world backlash and cast drama, we're diving deep into what went wrong and asking the big question, can the show ever be great again? Stick around because one of the biggest red flags behind the scenes is something almost no one's talking about, but we will. Let's rewind to when Queer Eye was pure magic. When the reboot launched in 2018, it wasn't just a show, it was a movement. The new Fab Five, Tan, Karamo, Jonathan, Bobby, and Antoni didn't just update wardrobes and fix up homes. They broke emotional walls. They tackled identity, trauma, and even deeply rooted cultural issues, all while helping someone feel like they mattered. What made it work? First, the authenticity. Episodes didn't feel like they were scripted or staged. When Karamo had hard talks with conservative men, when Bobby shared his struggles growing up gay in a religious household, those moments felt raw. They felt real. Viewers weren't just watching, they were connecting. And each cast member had a unique role. Tan was more than fashion. He was about confidence. Antoni turned food into bonding. Jonathan brought joy and healing through self-care. Bobby literally rebuilt lives with space transformations. And Karamo tackled the internal stuff that no one else could touch. Together, they had this unmatched chemistry. They joked, cried, challenged each other. And you could tell they genuinely cared about the people they were helping. The show didn't just change participants, it changed us. It made people think differently about masculinity, vulnerability, and even politics. In a divided world, Queer Eye gave us something hopeful, something healing. And for a while, it felt unstoppable. But as the seasons went on, something started to shift. The tears felt more rehearsed. The stories felt too perfect. Viewers began to notice a pattern, like the show was trying to copy its own emotional formula over and over. That realness? It started to feel like performance. Still, we can't ignore how powerful those early seasons were. The show earned its place in pop culture because, at its best, Queer Eye was more than just feel-good TV. It was soul-deep. If you've seen one recent episode of Queer Eye, you've kind of seen them all. Let's be honest, there's a formula, and they're sticking to it like it's gospel. The hero has low self-esteem, the Fab Five swoop in, cue the emotional breakthrough, sprinkle in a makeover montage, and wrap it all up with a big reveal. Roll credits. It worked beautifully at first, but by now, even die-hard fans can predict the entire episode after the first 5 minutes. And the deeper issue? That predictable structure starts to feel like it's minimizing the real struggles people face. Every journey can't be solved with a new haircut and some throw pillows. What made the first few seasons so gripping was how unpredictable they were. Each episode felt like a new story, a unique human experience. But now it feels like they're plugging different faces into the same script. The emotional beats? Same. The obstacles? Almost identical. The solutions? Always a confident strut, some fresh outfits, and a gorgeous living room. And here's the wild part. It seems like the show knows this. In later seasons, there's a sense of forced drama, like they're trying to hit emotional highs even when the moment doesn't call for it. Suddenly, a guy getting a new closet is crying on camera, and we're left wondering, why? Critics and fans alike have called out the show's reluctance to evolve. The world has changed. Conversations around mental health, identity, and even gender are more nuanced than ever. But Queer Eye hasn't really updated its lens. It still treats self-love like a makeover, not a process. Even the once fresh voiceover moments with Jonathan or Tan have started to feel like catchphrases, not heartfelt advice.
You'll often find me sporting a French tuck. Now, French tuck is simple. All you have to do is tuck in the front of your shirt into your pants.
French tuck?
Yeah.
Looks damn good. It's called a French tuck.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, balance. Yes, symmetry.
Yes.
Yes.
Work, honey, you're on the blogs. Yeah.
It's like the cast is playing roles instead of being present. And here's something else. By repeating the same formula, the show risks turning real people's stories into emotional clickbait. You can feel it. There's less depth, more polish. It's entertainment, yes, but what happened to the soul? In a show that was built on realness, this cookie-cutter approach is its biggest letdown. It's like watching a band play their greatest hits on loop. Sure, it's fun, but after a while, you're dying for something new. And guess what? The next issue might be even more frustrating. What if the show has traded empathy for stuff? Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the living room, literally. Because now, it feels like Queer Eye is more about furniture than feelings. Somewhere along the way, the heart of the show got buried under throw blankets, high-end skincare, and artisanal guacamole. The original goal? Help people feel better about themselves, inside and out. But lately, the focus has shifted. The message seems to be, buy nicer things, and your life will magically fall into place. Let's be real. Who wouldn't love a renovated house and a brand new wardrobe? But when every solution is tied to a product or makeover, it starts to feel shallow. That guy struggling with grief? He gets a new couch. The woman dealing with decades of insecurity? Here's a hair appointment and some throw pillows. Done. It's not that the makeovers are bad. They're stunning, honestly. Bobby's designs? Always a 10. But viewers are noticing that deep emotional work is often glossed over or wrapped up too quickly so we can get back to Anthony's latest trendy avocado recipe or Tan's luxury blazer picks. And here's what's sneaky. Most of those solutions involve buying something. A lot of fans feel like the show has become a glossy ad for consumerism, where self-love is just another shopping spree away. That's a dangerous message, especially in a world where real mental health resources are expensive and out of reach for many people. The show used to balance it better. There was heart and glam. But now it feels like the glam is in overdrive and the heart is stuck in the back seat. You watch an episode and think, sure, they look better, but did they actually get better? And maybe worst of all, some heroes are clearly uncomfortable with all the changes being thrown at them, but that gets edited out or smoothed over with music and smiles. The transformation becomes more about the wow factor for the viewers, instead of whether it actually fits the person's life. Queer Eye used to ask, what does this person need to truly thrive? Now it asks, how can we make this look good on camera? And trust us, things are about to get even messier, because what happens when the Fab Five's glossy approach hits a culture that doesn't fit the mold? It's one thing to offer a makeover. It's another to ignore someone's entire cultural identity in the process. As Queer Eye expanded to new locations, like Japan and parts of the American South, it also exposed a serious flaw in the show's formula. It doesn't always translate across different cultures. And when it doesn't, things can get awkward fast.
Culturally, they don't talk about their emotions and feelings a lot. And I went into it feeling not defeated, but feeling challenged in a good way of like, we can do this. Like, we can connect. We actually studied the culture to make sure that we didn't come in there like brash Americans being like, hey, here we are, you know what I mean?
Let's talk about the Japan mini-season. On paper, it was a beautiful idea. Bring the Fab Five to Tokyo to learn, grow, and help people in a different cultural setting. But the reality? It felt like a crash course in Western values being dropped onto lives that didn't ask for them. Viewers noticed how the show often framed Japanese customs, like emotional reserve or minimalism, as problems to be fixed. Instead of celebrating cultural differences, it sometimes came off like, "Let us show you a better way to live." That's not helping. That's colonizing, emotionally at least. And it's not just in international episodes. Even within the US, when the show visits rural communities or people with strong religious or traditional roots, the vibe can feel a little off. It's like the Fab Five arrive with a toolkit of style tips, emotional pep talks, and modern values, and expect them to fit every situation. To be fair, they usually mean well. But intention doesn't erase impact. When a show built on empathy doesn't take the time to fully understand someone's background, it undercuts its entire message. There's also the issue of language and communication. In Japan, conversations felt stilted, with too much lost in translation. Emotional moments were harder to connect with.
それだったらできると思います、僕でも。
Do you think that Japan's made any sort of progress?
ここ数年で、その LGBTQ の人たちが
And how do you think that that progress happened?
And the Fab Five often looked out of place, trying to guide people they didn't quite understand. Fans noticed. Critics pointed out how these episodes felt more like tourism than transformation. The hero wasn't always at the center of the journey. Sometimes it felt like the Fab Five were. Here's the truth. Helping people means meeting them where they are, not where you think they should be. And while Queer Eye has had some amazing, heartfelt episodes across cultures, it's clear that their one-size-fits-all approach doesn't always work. Worse, when the show fails to adapt and instead doubles down on its own worldview, it sends the message, "Our way is the right way." That's not just tone-deaf, it's damaging. And if you think that's bad, just wait until we dig into what's going on behind the scenes with the cast themselves. The smiles on screen might be sparkling, but behind the scenes, it's a different story entirely. For a show built on connection and collaboration, Queer Eye's cast hasn't exactly been a model of harmony in recent years. Whispers of tension started a few seasons ago, but by now, it's become impossible to ignore. Fans noticed. Journalists noticed. And then, Bobby Burke left. Bobby, the interior design expert and arguably one of the hardest working members of the Fab Five, announced his exit in 2023. At first, the farewell felt friendly. But then came the interviews.
A lot of emotional stories that we get where people truly want to share their life experience of how we've helped them or a family member. That's been the most rewarding.
Bring a whole box of tissues. You will cry like crazy, and that's all I can say.
We thought we were done, mentally and emotionally. I thought we all moved on. I would have to have pumped the brakes on the multiple projects that are already in process. We had mentally just prepared ourselves to move on. That's why I left.
He hinted at burnout, being sidelined, and yes, conflict with other cast members. Specifically, rumors have swirled about a growing rift between Bobby and Tan France. And while both have tried to keep it professional in public, fans have pointed out that their interactions on the show grew colder over time. Less playful banter, more awkward distance. This matters because the chemistry between the Fab Five was the show. The heart, the soul. Watching them bounce off each other, joke, cry, and build people up together, that was part of the magic. If that connection fades, so does the impact. Even Karamo has been candid in recent interviews about needing space and boundaries from his castmates.
For me, as a black man, I have been told many times that I do not belong. Beside being a gay man, you don't belong in this room, you're not welcome.
Translation: things aren't as fabulous as they seem. The cast might be out here changing lives on camera, but off camera, it's starting to look like 5 solo careers stitched together for convenience. And the tension shows. Later seasons feel more segmented. Each expert comes in, does their part, then disappears. The group scenes, fewer and stiffer. That infectious energy from the early seasons, it's missing. Now, fans are asking, can Queer Eye survive if the Fab Five don't actually vibe anymore? Because as polished as the production is, you can't fake friendship forever. Coming up next, let's talk about how fans are really feeling about the show, and the numbers that Netflix definitely isn't bragging about. Once hailed as must-watch TV, Queer Eye is now catching some serious heat, and not just from critics. The fan base that once adored the show is growing restless. Scroll through Reddit threads, YouTube comments, or even Twitter, well, X now, and you'll find a steady stream of complaints. It's just not the same anymore. Too fake. They're phoning it in. And those aren't just casual comments, they're becoming the consensus. Let's look at the numbers. Early seasons of Queer Eye dominated conversation. It was one of Netflix's most talked about originals, constantly trending, constantly being shared. But by season 7, the buzz had dropped significantly. Fewer memes, fewer articles, fewer people even realizing a new season had dropped. In the streaming world, that's a huge red flag. Even review scores reflect the shift. On sites like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, ratings for newer seasons are noticeably lower than earlier ones. Critics have noted the repetitive structure and surface-level storytelling, but more importantly, longtime fans are tuning out. And why wouldn't they be? The show no longer feels urgent. It's lost that spark that once made every episode feel like an event. Back in the day, you'd watch and feel something. Now, it's often background noise, comfort TV, not conversation-starting TV. Another sore spot? The editing. Fans are calling out how obviously cut and polished everything feels. Moments that used to feel raw now feel overly produced. Emotional breakthroughs arrive on cue, right before the commercial break. It's all just too neat. Then there's the criticism about representation. For a show that once championed diversity and broke stereotypes, some feel it's started to play it safe, sticking to stories that are inspirational, but not too controversial. In trying to appeal to everyone, Queer Eye has started to feel like it's saying nothing new at all. It's also worth noting how some communities have pushed back on the show's advice. Whether it's pushing certain gender norms, oversimplifying trauma, or promoting Western aesthetics in deeply personal spaces, people are speaking up. Not every fix the Fab Five offers is a solution, and viewers are starting to challenge that. All this has led to a pretty serious question. Has Queer Eye outlived its relevance? It hurts to ask, especially for a show that once felt like a cultural lifeline. But the truth is, when your formula stays the same while the world moves on, people notice. And when even your most loyal fans start to walk away. That's the kind of makeover no amount of contouring can fix. But wait, before we say it's over, could the show actually bounce back? Let's talk about what Queer Eye would need to do to truly reclaim its crown. So, is it over for Queer Eye? Or is there still a shot at a second rebirth? Honestly, the show doesn't need to die, but it does need to evolve. The format? Tired. The emotional arcs? Predictable. But the heart? It's still in there somewhere, buried under product placements and Instagram-ready moments. Step 1? Get real again. Ditch the polished edits and let the messiness show. The most powerful moments in early Queer Eye weren't perfect. They were human. They happened when someone broke down, opened up, or pushed back. Let's bring that back. Step 2. Expand the lens. The world has changed since 2018, and people are craving deeper, more inclusive stories. Show us trans heroes, disabled heroes, older heroes. Dive into cultural narratives without trying to fix them. Stop selling a one-size-fits-all solution and start embracing nuance. And most importantly, the cast has to reconnect, or call it. If the Fab Five are really 5 individuals just doing their jobs, the show loses its soul. Maybe it's time for new faces, a new city, a fresh cast who bring that same fire the original 5 did back when this all started. Netflix also has the chance to reinvent the brand entirely. Think Queer Eye, the next generation. Think global, but with care. Think less lifestyle makeover, more life transformation. Because here's the thing, the world still needs what Queer Eye used to bring. Empathy, vulnerability, connection. But if it doesn't adapt soon, it risks fading out not with a bang, but with a yawn. Queer Eye started as a spark, something fresh, raw, and emotionally groundbreaking. It taught millions how to love themselves, embrace their identity, and connect with others. But somewhere along the way, it became too polished, too predictable, and too product-driven. That doesn't erase what it once meant. The early seasons changed the game. They opened minds, started conversations, and gave people hope. But now, the show stands at a crossroads. Evolve or fade into irrelevance. The formula is tired. The energy is fading. But the idea behind Queer Eye, the idea that kindness, vulnerability, and human connection can change lives, that still matters. And if the show can find its way back to that core truth, it might just earn its place again, not just in our queues, but in our hearts. If you agree, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more honest breakdowns. Because we're just getting started.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.